member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Welcome back, America. You may be wondering who that was. That's Vice President Kamala Harris in a voice I have never heard her over 15 years of following her career use. David M. Drucker joins us from the Dispatch, senior political writer. David, have you heard the Vice President use that accent before?
I don't think so. That was a little bit different.
Yeah. So what is she doing there?
I mean, look, Hugh, I don't really think it matters. I don't know what she's doing, but I think we've reached a point in our political discourse where voters forgive or overlook all sorts of things they might not have or might have been a bigger story 20 years ago, and so it's just I notice it, but I don't think too many Americans pay attention to it.
All right, so we are in Labor Day, after Labor Day, the traditional start of the presidential election. It's tied. I look at all the polls, every single poll, but I think Trump is winning Pennsylvania, and I do not believe Kamala Harris changed many Keystone State voters' minds about her opposition to fracking with the Dana Bash interview. How do you think the election stands? What did you make of the interview with Dana Bash?
Well, look, I thought the interview was fine enough. I think she's going to have to do more to explain her change of position on fracking for it to really have an impact in Pennsylvania, which is what she needs and what that is all about. But the interview, look, I looked at that interview and I thought, they ought to just let her do more interviews because she didn't do that horribly. Some of her answers were quite good. Some need work. But on balance, it was fine. And the more interviews you do, the less any one of them actually matters because people have then a menu to choose from. I agree with you that the race is tied, right? It's the day after Labor Day, and this thing's a toss-up. Trump has the edge in Pennsylvania. She has recovered ground lost by Biden and is now in a position to win, whereas he was not, right? I mean, Trump's been in a position to win the whole time, and Trump is still in a position to win. His position with Biden was better, but he's still in a position to win. She's now in a position to win. So we'll have to see how this goes. The debate's going to be huge, and there is still time, even though early voting is going to begin within the next week. I think absentee ballots drop in North Carolina this week or early next week, and the voting is going to begin. But there is time for both candidates to both do better and do worse than they are right now.
Voting does begin Friday in North Carolina. Absentee ballots go out so they could be returned on Saturday. So maybe they could be returned on Friday, in fact. So the election is underway. David, I think she's going to lose altitude every day of this campaign. There might be a good day when the former president does something bad. But as I said to Trey Gowdy, and I'd just like you to comment on, she lacks, in my opinion, in Hugh Hewitt's opinion, the minimum skill set necessary to be president. She does not have it. And to quote Abe Greenwald on commentary, interviews are her kryptonite, which is why it took her 40 days to deliver, at best, a mediocre performance. I think it was actually worse than that. Do you think she has the minimum skill set to be president?
Look, I think what we've seen over the last 6 weeks is she has more than the minimum skill set to win the presidency. I mean, I think that the campaign strategically, considering the switch and all of the things that they've had to do, has functioned very well. And I think she's shown that she's a better campaigner and a better candidate than she was in the 2020 race for the Democratic nomination when she flopped, and it was a flop. And in fact, she looks better on the stump than she's looked as vice president whenever she's been in public. So, whether or not she has the minimum skill set to be president, I always, Hugh, I always leave that up to you and others. But I will tell you, as a political reporter and an analyst, does she have what appears to be the minimum skill set to win? Yeah, I think she has the minimum skill set to win.
Oh, I agree with that. And a lot of that depends upon Trump. But I gather you're going to take a pass on what you think 4 years of a Harris. I think if we have a Harris presidency,
it's never something that I do. I remember in 2016, so many voters talking to me about their concerns about whether Trump can handle the presidency and does this guy look like someone who could be president? And so it some of this is in the eye of the beholder, and some of this is how voters look at things over time. Clearly, when you look at Trump's numbers today, they're better than when he was running in 2016 and better than when he was president. So you can see an evolution of how people look at a candidate and a president. So people could look at Kamala Harris today, not be sure, and 2 years from now, if she were to win, decide, oh yeah, that was a good decision, or decide 2 years from now, well, that was a bad decision. And I think Trump's a great example of that.
David M. Drucker, follow him on X. Thank you. I do believe about Harris, though, and I want to leave the audience with this as we go away. Quoting from the line from Chariots of Fire when the sprinter asked the coach, make me fast, and the coach said, Sam Sabini, you can't put in what God left out. And God left a lot of stuff out of Kamala Harris when it came to the capability of being president, and that is not going to change